Hey y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the Jubilee Holiday 2018 collection available right now from Zoya. These were sent to me for review and I'll go ahead and link the storefront down below. So first up today of the 12 new shades is Astrid. So Astrid is described as a liquid gold foil that adds a festive touch to any holiday look, or you can also wear it as an accent or alone for optimum impact. So this is rated as a 4 in terms of intensity. I do feel like it's maybe a little bit more sheer than that. It is in a clear base with a ton of those small gold foil particles. I think you could definitely use this as a topper. I think it'd be really, really classy over black even. I'm going to go ahead and show you how it built up today all on its own. So here's a look at that second coat. This is with the typical Zoya brush, so it is on the thinner side. If you prefer a thicker brush, Zoya is now offering that. I'll leave the details to that down below as well. I am super excited about the thicker new brush. So here's a look at that third and final coat today for Astrid. It does bring this polish completely opaque, and it is very much a gold foil, very metallic on the nail, and just really, really pretty. So here's a look at that complete and mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. So no texture to speak of here. So here is a view once more from a different angle in direct sunlight. Super blingy, but still classy. So next up is one of the nude shades. This is Lee, and this is described as a full coverage, perfect winter nude. Rich and warm cream with just a hint of pink to complement any skin tone. This is rated as a 5 in terms of intensity, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is a fabulous nude. If you're super, super pale with pink undertones like I am, this is pretty much almost my mannequin hand shade, and it was really a dream to work with and super, super opaque. I did have a little bit of streaking there with that first coat, and it was a little bit out of focus. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how it built up for me with a second coat. 2 coats, just make sure I get it all the way up to my sidewalls and make sure there is no streaking, and it is for sure easily and completely opaque in just 2. It does also dry down to a gorgeous glossy finish. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. Super, super in love with this one. And here is my final swatch photo at an angle underneath my artificial lighting. So next up is Carson, and Carson is described as a full coverage muted nude pink cream, a beautiful shade to create an understated elegance and perfect for cold weather months. So this one leans more to the pink, kind of like mature pink side for me. I wouldn't necessarily think of this as a nude. It has a lot of rosy tones in there, but it is in that same beautiful Zoya cream formula. So 1 coat was really, really close to being completely opaque. I did need to get a little bit closer to my sidewall there, as well as fill in any low spots or streaking. So I did opt to go in for a really quick second coat, and it for sure brought this color completely opaque, again with a beautiful glossy finish and no issues at all. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath the artificial lighting. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up is where it gets a little bit more fun. This first one is called Itteryne, and it's super, super metallic-y shimmer there. It's described as a fiery fuchsia micro iridescent shimmer with blue undertones. So this one again is rated as a 5 in terms of opacity intensity. I think it's maybe just a touch under that, maybe a 4. It does go on really smooth, really easy. I did go in a little bit thicker here with this first coat, but I didn't have any issues with pulling. It does have very, very minimal brush strokes. They're not super noticeable at all. I'm going to go ahead and show you how this built up for me with a second coat. 2 coats is going to add tons more of that shimmer and more of that fiery fuchsia shade, but my nail line is super, super strong, and I did still see a little bit of a hint of it, so I did opt to go in for a 3rd coat today. 3 coats it did for sure. Bring the shade completely opaque for me on my nails. It's very fun and bright and festive, and it's just a really pretty pink. So here's a look at that completed mani at 3 coats before a glossy top coat underneath artificial lighting. I think this one would be really fun to do a matte top coat with as well. So this is my final swatch photo at an angle in direct sunlight. So next up is Maxine, and Maxine has completely stolen my heart. This polish is described as a full coverage, rich red cream with an evenly balanced undertone, so it's bright, yet still appropriate for the season. It's also rated as a 4 in terms of intensity, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how it's swatched today for me on my natural nail. Here's a look at that first easy coat. This one is super, super juicy on the nail. It almost seems like a super pigmented and really easy to apply jelly polish. There is a bit more oomph in it though, more coverage than a jelly would provide. provide. It just has that same kind of really juicy feel. So one coat was just shy of being completely opaque. It did go on nice and evenly, just a little bit sheer. So this second coat does build this polish up to complete opacity with no issues at all. It does dry down to that gorgeous high gloss finish. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. And then here is a quick view once more from a different angle in that same artificial lighting. So next up is Alison, and she's described as a full coverage plum-toned ruby cream. So it's a more amped up version of a traditional plum shade. So you do have some red tones in there as well as pink and maybe a touch of purple. It makes it for a really gorgeous color on the nail. So here's a quick look at how it applied in that first easy coat. Again, this one does give me those same juicy vibes that Maxine does. Really nice and even coverage, just a little bit sheer. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this coat, let it dry down, and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a quick look at my second and the final coat for today. It does bring this polish completely opaque. Again, I just have no complaints at all to make about these. They go on smooth. I didn't have any staining. They dry down glossy, and they also do dry down fairly quickly. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat. I did have maybe a little bit of visible nail line there. I think it was just the angle of the camera, because here at this angled shot, it is completely opaque. Alright, y'all, so now we have a new pixie dust. If you've been following this channel for a minute, you know that I am a huge fan of the pixie dust formula, and I'm super excited to have new ones to add to my collection. So this is Cookie, and it's described as a purple pixie dust with gold flecks. So it's perfect for holiday fun. Honestly, it's good for all year round as well. These do have a good amount of larger textured glitter, but it does not go on gritty at all. One coat did go on nice and evenly. You can already see a ton of that gold peeking out there. It is still a little bit sheer, so I'm going to go ahead and let that completely dry down and then show you how it built up for me with a second coat. 2 coats did for sure bring this polish completely opaque. I had full coverage and a ton of glitter payoff. What you see when it's applying looks completely different than what it looks like when it is dry. If you're not familiar with the pixie dust, they dry down to a textured matte finish, which is stunning. So here's a quick look at that at 2 coats. If you want to, you can definitely opt to go in with a glossy top coat over these to add even a more fun look. So this is my final swatch photo at an angle in direct sunlight before a glossy top coat. So next up is Chiara, and this is described as a full coverage deep purple cream. So this is a just gorgeous rich jewel tone, and it does go on as a beautiful cream like most of the Zoya creams do. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This one goes on super smooth, really easy. Again, I didn't have any staining. I am swatching these without a base coat today, which is something that I don't normally do. So one coat went on pretty good coverage. You can see there toward my side wall. I did need a little bit more there, so I am going to go ahead and go in for a second coat. 2 coats for sure brings this one completely opaque. If you feel like you're comfortable with going in with a thicker coat with these Zoya creams, you can get these opaque in just one careful coat. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats without a glossy top coat. So again, that super gorgeous glossy finish. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle again in that artificial lighting. So next up is Danica, and Danica is described as a full coverage, rich, deep teal cream. So this is a new twist on a holiday green that gives you an edgy yet elegant look. This one is rated as a 5 in terms of intensity. It does go on just as smooth and flawless as any of the other Zoya creams. I did go in for a little bit of a thicker coat here, which definitely helped amp up that coverage. I did swatch this one without a base coat, and I did have very, very minor staining, so that might be something that you want to watch out for. This is a super, super pigmented shade. So I am going to opt to go in for that second coat. 2 coats. Again, just completely and easily opaque, no issues, quick drying time, and a gorgeous glossy finish. What more can you really ask for? I'm really excited that they're taking a new kind of take on typical holiday shades as well. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. And then this is my final swatch photo at an angle in that same artificial lighting. So I think this next one may be my must-have of the collection. This is called Juniper, and she's described as a sparkling teal textured pixie dust, especially unique when paired with the new Leopard Spotstopper, which I did not do, but I'm kind of dying to do now. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Just like with the other pixie dust polish, this one does go on smooth, even though it has a ton of texture there. It's not completely opaque at all. I do recommend letting this dry completely down and going in for that second coat. It's really no effort at all, and the finish is for sure worth it. So here's a look at my second and final coat for today. It does bring this polish completely opaque. This one has a little bit of a purple shimmer to it as well, which really makes it complex and gorgeous and unlike anything in my collection. It's also very, very deep. I think I'm going to love this one matte as well as glossy. So here's a look at that completed mani at 2 coats before a glossy top coat and that gorgeous matte glitter finish. And then here's a quick view from a different angle before a glossy top coat as well. So next up, and the last of the Zoya creams, is Itteryne. I hope I'm saying that right. I know I'm butchering it though. So this one is described as a full coverage, beautiful midnight brown cream. So they want you to think of it as a new black. Think of it as a neutral, something that you can wear all the time. And with this formula, I'm kind of in that same boat. So here's a look at that first easy coat of Itteryne, and honestly, that's all you need for complete opacity with this shade. It's going to be perfect for nail art, or maybe even could be your new go-to. It is super, super dark on the nail, so here's a look at that completed mani at just 1 coat before a glossy top coat underneath my artificial lighting. And then here's a quick final swatch photo at an angle under that same artificial lighting. So next up, it gets even more fun with the Leopard Spotstopper. I'm really excited about this polish because I missed out on the crackle fad. It kind of started right as I was getting into nails, so this one is really fun to play with. They're really kind of wanting you to use this over the Pixie Dust shades, which I haven't done yet. I am going to go ahead and show you how it's swatched today for me over Zoya Purity, so just a white. I did go in a little bit thin with this first coat. P.S. That is the new thicker brush. I'm loving it. So if you go in thin with lots of swipes, you're going to get a smaller crackle. If you go in thicker with fewer swipes, it's going to give you a larger effect. So kind of fun to play with. It looks almost like a cow mini here. Effortless or really cool to play with. So that is a look at that at just 1 coat. It does make for a matte finish though, so I definitely do recommend going over that with a glossy top coat. And that does wrap up my swatch and review of the new Zoya Jubilee Holiday 2018 collection. These are available right now. I'll go ahead and link that storefront down below. If you'd like to see more, you can also follow me on Instagram at Sloppy Swatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.